All right, we are live. And here we go. We'll pull Shane back in here.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Great
So
day,
are we live?
everybody. Welcome to
Go ahead.
another episode of Seeds of Abundance. Matthew Britt coming at you from Ottawa, Ontario. Great to be here. As always, my good friend, business partner, Mr. Jim Gale. Good to see you, buddy.
You too, brother. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. As always, crazy shit going on in the U.S. with this big storm that just went down. I've been seeing some interesting stuff about lithium mines trying to be built in a certain area where we've had some serious damage from these hurricanes, and very, very interesting, I must say, how we now have proof we can manipulate the weather and control the directions that hurricanes go. And we just so happen to have this little town that's sitting on top of a massive lithium deposit that the town did not want this thing to go forward. So what better thing to do than impact a mountain town that usually would not need flood insurance with some massive flooding, and maybe cause some people to want to leave their homes, which may change the landscape for this lithium mine.
Yep.
Crazy.
Well, we've got a friend, Marty. He's living here on site. He just showed up yesterday from that area. And I've gotten a lot of reports too, one from him directly. And it is truly catastrophic. And for people who don't think that we can control the weather, just look up the patents. It's been done for over 100 years. They start talking about it. And there's been patents out now for several generations. It is absolutely doable. When you heat up or cool down, even by a tiny bit, the atmosphere in one place, right? And you heat up and cool down the atmosphere in another place, you can direct the energy and enhance or diminish the energy, right? So weather is now a weapon of war. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
And one thing that's fascinating that I've saw is that there's a lot of smart people now watching things, right? They're paying attention to what's going on, and there's people that know how to pull like satellite imagery that would normally be available only on kind of like the Weather Channel, and they could see that as this storm was approaching land, that there was a massive increase in atmospheric radiation coming from towers all at the same time. And as that happened, the hurricane changed direction and moved. So we've got something interesting that's been nefariously employed, I think, that has seriously made a massive impact on one of the largest lithium deposits in the world. And this place and these mines just so happen to have agreements already set in motion with companies like Tesla and some of the large automakers and maybe even the U.S. government. But they're being blocked from achieving these goals because of the population. But now that might not be the same concern.
Yep, and BlackRock. Yep.
Oh, and them. Can't forget those guys. Everybody's favorite BlackRock. So that's a whole other conversation here. But let's bring in our guests, people that are doing really great things to impact human health from a natural perspective. I think most of our audience knows that Big Pharma, as I like to refer to them, is not so much about keeping you healthy because they make money when you're sick. And I know if I had a business where I made money from when you're sick, well, my thoughts would be around how do you make more money? It's just the natural way that business works in that regard. So it's no surprise to me, and I think every one of our audience members, that they don't have our best interest in mind, Big Pharma. And we need to do whatever we can to heal ourselves naturally and leverage the things that have been provided by nature, God, whatever we want to call it, to ensure that we live our best lives full of vitality and peak health. So our guests today, Shane and Carleton from Blackfeet Health Products, have been doing this for a number of years, really doing phenomenal work. And welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hey, thanks for having us. Right on, Matt. Nice to meet you there, Jim. Just going kind of touching back to those weather mods. That's been going on since 1952. Patented stuff in 1955. This is going to be the future. How do we defend against that? We've got a number of ways. That's probably for another show, but it's literally that we have these special materials that we can absorb any type of EMF and not let it harm us, whether that is our body or our homes. And that's for a different show, and that's a whole different set of materials that we discovered from the Air Force of the U.S. and that was quietly put out into the mainstream. And but yes, there will be things coming down the pipe. Maybe that's something, and that's why we're here today, to make relationships with more of more like-minded people, especially in the U.S. Carleton and I don't know a lot of people in the U.S. We got a few good friends, mostly Apaches and Blackfeet, but we're always trying to reach out to America because there's just more action there. People seem to be a little more proactive, a little more educated. So Canadians a little bit more lax attitude here, a little more, unfortunately, the Canadians a little more sheepilish. They're, kind of go along to get along, and that attitude ain't gonna jive. And that's why kind of we started doing this Blackfeet Health Products.
Oh, frozen.
He's an independent guy. He gets a lot of flack and grief from his own people, but he's remained steadfast and strong, and he just wanted for his people to be liberated through food and through medicine, and he wanted to do that with real people. And he found Carleton and I's ability to make medicine and to live in that, I guess, native theory or that native way, to be holistic, just like the Blackfeet are. And so very aligned. And so we started that company in 2018, and it's not like a normal corporation by any means. It's kind of like between a service, a charity, and doing business in a different capacity, not relying so much on commerce, but more on trade, more on traditional values, and more on traditional theories, practices, and cultures. So we've been really, not that we're reluctant to take cash, but we'd rather trade for silver. We'd rather trade for gold. We'd rather trade for prayers.
Awesome. That's so great. So tell us, what is your product and service in as much detail as you want? And then there's layers to unpack here. It sounds beautiful.
Yes. So we started off with about 42 different herbs. The majority of those are picked right off here in Alberta's lands. So we get a lot of different herbs here. All the traditional ones that you could think of, from rat root, sweetgrass, what else? Lots of Indian pipe, other things like comfrey. A lot of hemp products that's growing right here with the Kikino Métis settlement. We do a lot of trade with them. So trying to do nation to nation. We do a lot of mushrooms off the land. And I'll let Carleton speak to the mushrooms. We work with about 22 different mushrooms, both medicinal and edible. So tell us a little background about you, Carleton, because he's looks like he's having too much fun there in that hammock.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't need to say anything. I'm just thrilled to be swinging outside in nature and appreciating the outdoors.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so
this is one of the medicines that we make here. This is Labrador leaf tea. If you knew how much Labrador leaf was on the land right now, you would stop what you're doing and you would go pick some, because this is a small pharmacy in a single leaf.
yes.
So this package right here is also part of our new line. We have overcome the glass bottleneck by creating something that is not breakable and not freezable, so it can be shipped with twice the volume and half the weight.
Awesome.
And what are the benefits of Labrador leaf tea?
Oh, wonderful for migraines, arthritis, muscle pain, all forms of hepatitis, opioid replacement, anxiety, IBS, supports your thyroid, liver, and blood consistency. Small pharmacy, eh?
That's amazing.
Just a little leaf. It's worth about, $80 on the open market per pound. But if you go out and find it and extract it and turn it into something that is very shippable and shelf stable, it is worth 10 times that.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And to be clear, we have no interest in the banking. 3 years ago, the banks took my bank accounts away, and I've been making lemons from that lemonade ever since.
Beautiful. Man, that is great.
I,
So
I,
the
I'd say,
process. Go
tell
ahead.
us about that.
Well, I was running my mushroom business, making about 250 to 500 pounds of fresh weight mushrooms every single day with a team of 4 people. That is unprecedented production. That is unprecedented weight per square foot of efficiency. And I was doing it on a substance that everyone in the mushroom industry said was not possible, using hemp biomass.
Oh,
So
I
for
love
a
it.
time, I was the largest purchaser of hemp biomass in Alberta. I was a small business. I started with $5,000 and a sea can. And I reinvested diligently. I committed every spare minute I had to reaching out to new clients and new relationships. And Shane came along very quickly in that journey. And it was only Shane that had the most reliable connections to the natives, that when the time came and the government turned off my bank accounts for making, well, too much medicine and giving it away for too cheap, I had to walk within the week. Basically, I had no bank accounts. I couldn't do business anymore. So I declared full bankruptcy, packed up the whole place. And we're talking like a 16,000 square foot warehouse that was specifically kitted out for growing 20 different species of mushrooms.
Wow.
So not only did we grow a couple species, no, we did some of the rarest mushrooms on earth. And we did it with great joy and efficiency. In the middle of Nisku, if you know where Nisku is in Alberta, that is considered the oil heart of this province.
Wow.
Yes, and we made great relations with all of our oil companies because guess what? They had health problems. They had many health related issues that they didn't know how to deal with because their doctors were failing them. And this has been the consistent story since I began. I didn't do this because I wanted to make money. No, I had people coming to me every day with crazy, weird ailments, and I just started throwing stuff at them that worked.
Wow.
I only care about results. If it's not going to produce a result, I won't grow it. I won't even bother picking it for free off the ground.
Yeah. That's amazing. I bet you use different processes to go from on the ground to in the bag. Do you dehydrate at all?
Most recently, we have been freeze drying.
Okay.
And we have done a lot of dehydrating as well. We tend to do a extraction process either with pressure or with a solvent. That has produced the most reliable results. Shane can speak to our experience with various hemp oils that have saved so many people's lives that we've just lost track.
Yeah, so we, like 2017, 18, you guys probably remember, like there was a craze going on with CBD products, and they were kind of being touted as a cure-all. We didn't really get involved in that. We made specific products with a base of cannabidiol and other terpenes and more of a broad and full spectrum extracts, and then we would design the specific medicine to target specific things. So we looked at Canada and we said, okay, what are the four big, what are the biggest health problems in Canada? So number one is always inflammation. Inflammation leads to all other diseases, including cancer. So everybody's got some sort of inflammation going on, pain. The number two thing seemed to be like a social health problem, which is anxiety. So many people are suffering with anxiety from as a as side effects from big pharma and other stresses in society. So we made specific products to deal with inflammation, specific products to deal with anxiety, specific problems that deal with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and gastrointestinal problems. And then the last one, and probably the biggest one, which is the real pandemic, is sugar diabetes, especially when we deal with Native people. The like some of the type 2 and type 1 diabetes is off the chart. We're talking some tribes like 80 plus, and there's even some Navajo tribes that like they're 90+% diabetic.
Wow. Eating
Like,
poisons all day long.
are eating poisons all day long. So we really made those medicines to deal with those issues, and so that kind of started us. And then when I met up with Carleton, he had all these mushrooms, and then like we were saying, like how could we like kind of start blending these products together? Like how do we blend an ethanol product with an oil product? Water and oil don't mix, right? So they are they're you can't mix those two. They'll float on top of each other. They'll never blend. So we had to take it a step further, and then we got into like other techniques and like ultrasonification. So if you can imagine the size of a dime, and taking that dime and blowing it apart into a billion pieces with sound, that's exactly what we did. And we would blow those fat molecules apart in such a fine, minute nano way that then we could insert the oil molecules inside a water molecule. So we're the only company in the world that does that. No one has really figured that out, and we're the only, I think, company to blend the world of mushrooms with herbs together in a homogeneous solution that has synergistic value. I don't know if you guys know what radionics is or the biofeedback, but some of our products been measured on those radionics machines and biofeedbacks, and it's actually shut some of those machines down because the synergistic radionic feedback that was coming back was over 6,000 millihertz. So they would have to shut the whole machine down, recalibrate it, restart it back up because they just couldn't believe the findings.
That's amazing. I have seen those machines. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's a little bit on those two. Then we start getting into more of the vibrational medicines and modalities, and there's a lot on the market now, and some are good, some not so good. But we've always started with by learning. There was a Cree medicine man who I work with quite frequently, Hank Cardinal, and he's from Saddle Lake Cree Nation, and he's an older man, is very, very well astute, and he knows about 60,000 plants. And his entire house is basically a library. Wow. And he wasn't allowed to play with children when he was little. They seen something special in him, so he could only he went basically from 3 years old working right with elders and medicine people, and that's where he formally trained. And it was Hank who told me, he said, listen, he goes, I love what you do, all those beautiful foods you do, but he says, Shane, you know what makes him into medicine, right? And I said, well, they're already medicine, Hank. He said, no, those are just good food. He says, we have to pray over them. We have to sing to them. We have to beat the drum to them. And he goes, we'll raise their vibration. We'll turn them into medicine. So that's where we got, onto that whole modality of raising vibration of everything. And it's true. Like, we know those stories about like praying to water and, making nice harmony pictures in the water and the molecules and just raising that vibration. So, all food is medicine, provided it's prayed over or you raise its vibration, right? So, and then we got into other things, and Carleton could speak to the orgone energy that he, got involved with and how he basically doubled his mushroom production overnight by just changing the vibration.
Wow.
Correct. So you've probably heard of orgonite.
Yep, we have some here.
Wonderful. I took the experiment to the max by acquiring 13 large orgone pyramids and hiding them around the farm without telling anyone.
Wow.
And the results were amazing. So in that time, I never had a bureaucrat come on the property because they are low vibration entities. The mushrooms responded equally well by growing twice as much. The property itself repelled all low vibration entities, meaning I was in downtown, like industrial Nisku, where there is theft every single day of the week, and we were never broken into once. I didn't even have cameras on the property because I knew I didn't need them.
Yeah.
When
That's
we
so
were
cool.
speaking, yeah, when we were speaking to the U of A, which is University of Alberta, there was a mycologist over there, and Carleton had reached out to him and said, "Hey, we're looking at doing these mushrooms on hemp." On hemp stock as a biomass, and he said, "Oh, there's not enough protein in that. You can't do that." And it was in that moment we knew that we could. We knew those guys were hiding the truth and the light of it, and we went full force into that. And Carleton came about 2 ounces and 2 centimeters from breaking the world record for growing the largest oyster mushroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
This
So
much.
it's and
This
that was
time,
on
this
something
time.
that shouldn't have worked. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was not using ideal materials. I was not using ideal substrate as per industry standards. And that meant I had a probably 50 to 80% step back relative to the nutritional ratio of the food that I was feeding the mushrooms.
Yes. So just get this, guys. Like, we're talking about abundance, right? And we talk about like God and how important the creator is to bring forth like a tremendous amount of abundance. When we start working with like hemp, for every pound of hemp herd, and you guys know what that is, that's basically a useless product that not a lot of people have uses for. It's kind of just worth its weight to ship. You can't really get much more money than that. So it's really low hanging fruit. But for every pound of hemp herd, we can get equally 1 pound of fresh mushrooms.
Wow.
So it's a 1-to-1, and we are talking like millions of pounds, and mushrooms exponentiate themselves. We start off with 1 jar of substrate that's inoculated. We could turn that into 10 jars, take that 10 jars, turn that into 100 jars, so on and so forth. So it very quickly you can grow mushrooms. And when we're talking like oyster mushrooms, we're talking like the same nutritional content, as much, vitamins and minerals and protein as beef.
That's amazing.
Right.
And Carleton, you mentioned the land itself, and the land repels. I have a similar experience here. And I think this goes back to the Amazon rainforest, which was a designed food forest like 4,500 years ago. And people often ask, where did the people go? And I did a video the other day. I think their energy is still here. In fact, they're whispering to us every day, all day long.
Yes.
They constantly work with nature. Nature is the answer. All of abundance is all around us all the time. We just got to be present and be able to listen to the messages that they're giving us.
My favorite word for this new moon is usufruct. Do you know what that means?
I do not.
No, I love it though.
Usufruct is a legal term where you benefit from someone else's land without harming it.
Yeah.
That means you can show up, hang a hammock, and have a great time without causing anyone harm or damage. And that is the type of abundance that we have been practicing for years now. And this land that we're on here, called Alberta, most of it is unoccupied. From my actual surveys here, I can show you tracts of 10,000 plus acres where there is not a single soul on it. If you show up and you try and walk even a mile, and you will find more food and medicine within that mile of forest than you know how to pick and or process.
That's amazing. That's primary. I absolutely love that.
Yes. So what we do as a service for other people, there's been a lot of, not to put anybody down, but I don't know how to call them yuppies that come from like Calgary, Edmonton, city folk who go and buy these farms because they're called to do so. And I really commend them for that. And they'll bring Carleton and myself onto their lands to show them on their land what exactly is there. And the last new moon that we did was back in September 2nd. We actually went to a Buffalo Lake property there, and a couple had bought that property. They had no idea what was there. And we showed them how to extract elderberry juice from the elderberry trees that they had there, which was about, I don't know, maybe about 100 or more. And we maybe harvested 1/4 of those trees and we harvested 800 pounds of elderberries, and we showed them how to steam that into juice, and then make that into syrups, and then blend that with reishi mushrooms to make a really high quality cold or flu medicine. And they had no idea what elderberries were. And at the same time we were doing that, we looked over to the next field, and there was a whole bunch of mugwort growing. I mean, like enough for like 10,000 doses of mugwort. This is like the original ivermectin from the land, and they had no idea what was there. But after spending the entire weekend with them living in their trees, they came back with a much greater understanding of their own land. So we do that as a service on those new moons to help those people here in Alberta rediscover their land, rediscover their farms, and make best use of them, and to basically harvest that unrealized value. Because honestly, like Hank told me a long time ago, he said, all this medicine's always under our feet, always under our noses, but we fail to recognize it.
Yep.
We call them weeds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been fooled. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I live in the city. I'm not out in the suburbs or out in the country like I was for a little while. I'm actually in the city, and even in our city property, we've got medicine all over the yard. Dandelions. What are the names of the things? There's the wormwood is there. We've got there's a massive amount of wormwood all over the property.
Yep. Do you do any hallucinogenic mushrooms? Any psilocybin?
In a prior day, I was one of the largest growers, so yes.
Okay. Another great trauma healing medicine, huh?
Yes, I have offered more of those than most people have ever even seen.
Yeah.
Hey, just to give you guys, Carl is really humble about these things, but when we were doing that, I seen one mushroom, a nice white albino, and he grew it, and it was the size of so look at your elbow, where your elbow is to the tips of your fingers, right?
Wow.
That was one psilocybin mushroom, and that was growing on hemp. Yes, one, right? So, and that was frequent, those types of things. So again, we talk about that abundance, and we love psilocybin, for its properties, but from a spiritual point of view, when we're treating people, especially in these First Nations, to get them off of the man-made drugs that they're taking, this is some of the fastest recoveries we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's because we have to break the psyche and break the spell of that addiction. And most people are emotionally damaged and psychologically damaged, and this trauma just resonates. And it's like, how do you get them back to the core? How do you break that psyche, and bring them back to center? Most people in this life think that their life and their body and their personality, they think that they're at the center of the universe, and that everything's about them, me, my, and it's not. And once you can discover that we're actually part of everything and that you're connected to everything, all that pressure comes off, and it's not about me or myself or you or I, it's about the collectiveness. And once you can break that and show them that everything is connected and that they're connected to everything, that's that moment when we start to break through the trauma and re-network the brain around the brain damage that occurs, that's holding them up in that loop. And that same thing goes with alcoholics. I'm sure we're, probably got an uncle or two or a grandfather likes to drink, and you always see them talk about the past, and they always talk about the same stories over and over again when they're drinking. And that's because they're stuck in that psychological loop and they can't get past it. So with psilocybin, it allows that breakthrough to happen so you can re-network around that trauma and get on with yourself. And that's why it's so effective.
Fantastic.
Yes, and safe, right? You can't OD on mushrooms.
Yeah, it's incredible. It is one of the most valuable trauma healing medicines that I'm aware of. And there are many, but mushrooms is definitely up at the top and near the top of the list.
My only contribution after having grown many hundreds of pounds of those is go get a hammock, go find some nature, and eat the mushrooms in the nature.
Yes.
Yes, it's best thing you can do when you're in that hammock. People don't really realize, but hammocks are a form of their own medicine because of the effects it has on your vestibular system.
Wow.
Right, and that's
I always
something that
felt
we.
that. Yep.
Yes, that's something we start off as when you're in your mother's womb. That walking or that swaying motion is something that calms the soul, right? It calms the body, calms the mind, and it, like just utilizing some of those simplest of modalities, like how to tap into your vestibular system, is an amazing way to help people relax and get in touch with themselves and to just calm down.
You know,
For
we're
those
gonna
that
go
don't
put up
know,
more
what's the
hammocks.
vestibular system?
Well, when you go on a roller coaster and you feel your stomach jump up into your throat, that is one small activation of your vestibular system. When you're on a swing and you're swinging and you feel it kind of jump out, that's another activation of that vestibular system. When you're swinging in a hammock and it's just a small amount, you know, a little back and forth as I'm doing right now, that is just a small exercise of that system that literally creates hormones for your body to utilize. So the simple movement, which requires almost no effort, one of the lowest friction activities on earth, is swinging. And this is one of the best medicines, which requires almost no friction, no effort, no buying stuff. I'm actually more interested in showing people how to live free on the land than selling something to them, because selling them doesn't actually fix this problem of this nation. If I can show someone how to walk into the forest for a week or a month and they come out happier, healthier, and freer, that is doing my job properly.
Oh, man, I couldn't agree more. Matthew, if you jump in, I'm going to walk over this way. I might lose signal for just a second, but to demonstrate what you're talking about, we live completely off grid, surrounded by all sorts of foods and medicines.
Yeah, and
Wonderful.
that's, you know, overall, that's what we're doing with Food Forest Abundance, is working to build a localized and decentralized poison-free food and medicinal supply. Because
Absolutely,
you know, the reality is all of this stuff exists here for us to leverage and utilize.
and
Except the problem
now we're
is,
gonna slip to. Go ahead.
you know, there's no money in abundance, so they don't want us realizing that we have this free at our fingertips.
It's so true. You know, and this is why we do what we do. And in Canada, I don't know if Jim is aware. I know you're probably aware, Matt, and I know Carleton's aware, but there's been some draconian bills that they want to pass here in Canada, you know, which limits our food supply. And the government wants to dictate in Canada exactly what foods we can have access to. They want to also shut down our vitamins and mineral supply here in Canada. They want to basically have 2 or 3 big oligarchs that you'll have you'll have 2 choices to get your vitamin C or your vitamin D from. So there is a very nefarious thing coming to Canada. A lot of Canadians aren't even aware. And this is why we're doing our best here in Alberta, at least to liberate some of the people here and show them like what it is, that where you can get like, you know, your vitamin C from like Labrador leaf or rose hips, you know, and just kind of get back to the land. Because unless we get on with like a private membership association, a faith-based organization, raise our own new nation here, we will be screwed and we'll be forced to use their system if we do not create our own system. So part of that new system, part of that new earth is just simply going back to the earth and getting on with ourselves and getting on with nature, and then teaching people like where to get medicine, where to get food. And this is another reason why not to do commerce in the Canadian public system, because you'll just find yourself in trouble. The reason why a lot of things are illegal isn't because the government, you know, hates cannabis or weed or cocaine or whatever it may be. No, it's just simply this. You're using their financial instruments, their money, their fiat, and they say you can't use that fiat to purchase these things. And that's what makes it illegal. That's what makes us break laws. So how do we get around that? Trade, silver, gold, And that's why, we really want to bring forth, like, this is why we really believe a little bit, well, quite a bit actually. We just haven't been able to get there yet, but creating NFTs, non-fungible tokens, for real world assets. So we're not purchasing them with fiat dollars, and instead we're trading our own NFT. And as we invest into different projects on the land, just say you have a section of land, 160 acres, and you want to put an $8 million processing facility on there to cut beef or process vegetables, grow mushrooms, whatever it may be. Once you just say you're a kid in maybe Hong Kong or Japan, you want to participate, you don't know jack squat about growing any of this stuff. Well, you can buy an NFT that funds that project, which increases its value, which gets a name going. And that's a simple way from somebody's desk in Hong Kong to participate in the project in Canada by buying those NFTs for, say, like $8, right? $10. And now you can buy a lot of NFTs and watch that project produce value, go up in money. And then if you want to sell your NFT for more or trade it for other products and services, that's how I think we can get on with ourselves, get on as a nation, get on just, obfuscating the whole government's program, and just do for the people, by the people, with the people, and stop with the middlemaning. Like, every time we go to school, we go to a teacher, we go to the school, and there's a middleman called the teacher. Every time we go to a bank to get our money, there's a banker. Every time we go to do anything in society, there's always a middleman, a doctor. This middleman, this is where the dark one hides, Satan, Lucifer, what do we want to call him? He plays in the middle. And that's where we keep getting screwed. We got to go directly to source. We got to go directly to the people. We got to go directly to the land. I keep telling the native people of Canada, you have to get back to your land. You cannot pretend to live like the white people in our systems, because that's not who you are, and you will get screwed every time. I says your land is where your language comes from. The land is your teacher. And, and they're slowly, getting back to that. And and they understand that the land is what provides all the answers, provides all the language, provides all the spirit, provides all the vibration. So it's just about cutting out the middleman and being direct with source, direct with creator, direct with each other. And that's how we change the paradigm.
Man, well said, brother.
Yeah.
We have no middlemen here. We are the manufacturers of everything we sell and share and trade for these purposes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're writing a book about this right now. I can't wait to get it in your hands, but it's called Nature is the Answer. And it's exactly what you said. Our sovereignty and the land are directly connected. And
Absolutely.
That's why my hat says free man and my shirt says grow food. And I built 10 homes here, and we have not asked for permission to do this. All of this stuff, we've publicly declared that we are free. And we had a government agent come here 7 months ago or so, and I got the call that he was on the land with his little clipboard and his little badge. And I heard he was here, and I had a wave of adrenaline run through my body. And I walked over to the fella through the food forest in direct relation with source, with spirit, with the land. And I was very empowered. And I turned on my camera as a strategy to shine a light on this fella and to share the message if it were to have went sideways. And anyway, 15 minutes later, after I introduced myself and I told him that we're not complying with that system, and I brought him into the food forest right here, and I shared with him that we're here to actually steward the land. We're here to actually help the land and build life into the land and design the land as our nature and as God dictates. And he basically couldn't argue with me, and he said, I'll never bother you again. In fact, I'm in great support of what you're doing. It was beautiful.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a similar story like that, Jim. Here where we're at in our farm here in Alberta, we're just behind the airport here in Edmonton International Airport. But this is you kind of see a little bit of what we got going on. It's a big 100-acre piece of land. But anyways, before we start doing anything here, the county of Leduc said, hey, we want to come onto your land, and we want to count your chickens, and we want to look at your outbuildings, and we want to just, see what's going on through compliance. And the landowner said, okay, yeah, come on down. And then we said to the landowner, no, we can't. You cannot have these compliance officers and these local officials come here. Once they come on, you are essentially making contract with them, and once that happens, you cannot get them to leave. They'll always be in your pocket, essentially. So what we did, and we only had a short time, we had like maybe 2 weeks to prepare how to obfuscate that. So we just said, hey, like, what can we do to do that? And we said, okay, here it is. We're going to become a faith-based organization. We're going to become a private church. And we went and got a sign made. We put at the end of the driveway. We're the first agricultural church of Christ here. We cited Genesis 1:26 through 29. And they said, oh, that's wonderful. You're a church. You have to get a permit. And we said, no. We got our permit from God. And they said, what? No, we said, no, we got our permit for God. Go read Genesis 1:26 through 29. It explains it all. They then immediately emailed us back and closed the file. We then reached out again to talk to the city coordinator, and then he was no longer to communicate with because he had left for vacation. And they've never came back, and they closed the file. So yes, knowing who you are, and the maxim of the law, God created man creates the government creates the person. If you agree and you want to be the person, it's one of the words I cannot stand hearing is when people say, oh, I'm a good person, she's a good person. No, a good person is a government entity, okay? And if you think you're a person, you will get fucking steamrolled, okay? They will steamroll you and treat you like the person you are. What shocked me was when I looked up in the dictionary what a woman is in public, okay? So in the public, and you look at a woman, what a woman is in public, it says prostitute, open to all. That's how the public views us. If you're a person.
Yep. And it's all the slave system, the beast system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for creating awareness around this. I absolutely love Matthew, and I know Matthew feels the same. We love what you're doing, and we want to shine as big a light on this as we can, for your sake and for the sake of course, your clients, and to scale it, right? To help bring this knowledge to every zone, to every indigenous group. I'm indigenous to this land, right? This
Absolutely.
I'm in charge. It's my duty to care for this land.
That's right. You're a steward.
Yes.
Yeah. So that maximum of the law is this. It's simple. That is which has been created cannot be greater than the creator. So you have to tell these governments you are a man created in the image of God, and that you work for me. I created you. You didn't create me. I'm not the person you think I am. And that's what really it fires me up. It burns my ass, and it gives me so much passion to just scream out loud who I really am. And when you do that, those people run like fucking cockroaches.
They do because the light is scary to them.
It's the vibration, guys. That's that modality. Our vibration's too high. They can't handle it because they always have to be on top, pushing down. But when you're on top of them and you let them know which jurisdiction you're in, they don't want nothing to do with it. Especially if we start talking about a fee schedule.
Yes.
They run.
Yes. Important words for people to know. The fee schedule coming from the man who has received harm.
Yes.
Right.
And then that's to be paid in silver.
Yep.
Immediately.
Yep.
Always ask them if there's ever a public official in front of you with that fee schedule, how long do you wish to burden me with your service?
That's a beautiful question. Oh, I love it. Guys, I have another call right now. You guys can please stay on.
I do too.
Okay. Man,
no
I
worries,
love you guys. Please share
much
with
love back.
everybody where they can find you and so on.
Yeah.
I wish it was easier to find us. You can find us at blackfeethealth.co. You can email me directly at Blackfeet Health Products, that's plural, at gmail.com. Other than that, it's I know we're kind of hard to find, and it's not that we want to be difficult. It's just that, you know, the system's been difficult with us, and it's kind of maybe a blessing in disguise at the end of the day, where we have a low profile and we work directly one-on-one. And
I'm a computer engineer. I know exactly how all of these social medias and emails and phones work, yet you can't find me on anything on the internet. I did that on purpose.
Yep.
Yeah. So
great.
yeah, but you know, like you guys can, you know, reach us, and Matt knows how to get a hold of us. But if you just want to reach out, the simple email, blackfeethealthproducts@gmail.com, blackfeethealth.co. That's like our only little website. A lot of those products aren't uploaded. We haven't updated it in a while. It's not that we don't want to, it's just we're so busy on the land doing what we do and dealing with clients that we just don't have the time. We wish we had a little more manpower, or we wish we had like more cultural camps, and we are working on creating some of these private cultural, you know, healing camps. But it's just it's the manpower. It's since after COVID, you can't find anybody to do anything.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you again, guys. We're gonna share this message wide, and then I'd love to stay in touch.
Yeah,
there's
we
a
definitely
mushroom I
will.
just found
Thank
on
you
the
so
land.
much for joining us on the show.
You betcha.
There
A
you
little
go.
puffball.
That's awesome.
Right on.
Abundantly
Right on. Okay,
signing
Jim.
off.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much,
Pleasure to meet you,
everybody.
Jim.
Thanks to
Thanks,
the
Matt.
audience.
We'll talk soon. Take care, lads.
Have a great day, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on another episode of Seeds of Abundance. We'll be back with more great people very soon. Have an amazing day.
Peace.
Peace.